Over the last 50 years, we've been promised miracle weight loss over and over again just to have them fade away. Fen-Phen, Hydroxycut, Atkins, South Beach, Paleo, Keto, juice cleanses, detox teas, apple cider vinegar, and now Ozempic and Zepbound. Every generation gets its "this changes everything" moment. So this time, are GLP1s actually different? On this episode, we'll talk about what's good about GLP-1, what the trade-offs are, and if these are here to stay or another fad that you should ignore.
Welcome to the Out of Pocket Podcast, the smarter way to own your health. I'm Andrew Hayes, and with me is Kat. Going to name my kids Ghrelin and Leptin best.
Hello.
Hot start. Serena Williams promoting Roe, which I don't want to get into today unless you want to, but she has a vested interest in that and also seemed to be working well for her, so good for her. But it just made me think of, now we have like Charles Barkley, I think doing Manjaro or something. What celebrity endorsements do you have in your brain? Is there anyone that ever like really convinced you to buy something or just very impressionable from your life?
I don't know about convinced me to buy anything, but I really like Ryan Reynolds and Mint Mobile is like very much in my, like I know the ad right now. I feel like I've seen it. I've heard it so many times. That's one. And then there's a billboard right by my apartment of Jennifer Aniston with Smart Water. And it's like every once in a while they'll change it, but it's always her and Smart Water, but it's like a different outfit, a different thing. So I always think of that, but I can't think of one that really made me buy something. I'm not really like into celebrities in that way. I love like the gossip and stuff, but I feel like I'm not influenced by them, if that
Not
makes
the
sense.
Jenners?
No. I mean, I have bought Skims, but that's like kind of different. I don't know if that's not really like, it's not because of Kim. It's actually like they're great products.
Interesting. I feel like Jennifer Aniston's been doing Smart Water for 20 years.
Really long time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good for her. It's probably a good gig. It's like
Totally.
free money.
I'd do
Mailbox
it.
money. Hold some water or take a picture in a different outfit and get $1 million.
So easy.
Right. Yeah. It's a good question. I also don't think I've like bought something, but we all probably say that and then we do. I would say like it's really hard to say. One of the ones that's burned into my brain is Jamie Lee Curtis and Activia. Remember the yogurt?
Yes.
And then so I knew that.
Totally.
And it was all about like being regular. That was the whole ad, was like I'm feeling irregular. And then in college I wanted to work in advertising and I got an internship at the agency on that account. And it was like a big deal because this was like mid to late 2000s. So like Activia was huge. Jamie Lee Curtis, I think, was huge at the time. And so it was like a really big deal to work on that account. But I was just like, I feel very out of place as like a college boy working on
so funny.
this like middle-aged women like regularity yogurt probiotic. I mean, it's a probiotic, whatever that means. They're all probiotic, I feel like. But so I feel like that's a pretty famous one. I hope she got paid well for that. I'm sure she did.
Yeah, now that you say that, I definitely tried Activia back in the day. I think because I thought it would help with like weight loss and all that stuff. Remember all the yogurts? Like there were so many yogurt options.
Yeah, key lime pie, like Yoplait and all that stuff. That was my first foray into like, that was more on the creative side of advertising. I ended up doing more of like the media and like ads buying and stuff. But that job, they would do like hours in a room describing like the personality of the yogurts. It's crazy. Like this, thousands of people have this job and people are listening to like, I work in, we have some clients who like work in this world. They like manage brands and stuff. And it's just so funny. They're like, Yoplait is like, they're like a liar. It's like a temptress. They're like giving you key lime pie and it's like, Activia is like your best friend and it's like actually looking out for your health. Like this is real shit that people said in board meetings. And I'm sitting there like, is this what I want to do?
That's hilarious. Oh my God, the personality.
You know what? Like we do the same thing. It's like we have to know who we're speaking to with our product.
That's very true.
It actually is, I think, one of those things that's overlooked. You don't realize when an ad hits your brain and convinces you to buy or think differently about something, like how engineered that was, how many people have thought through that for sure. It's funny.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, speaking of, I guess, so a panel of FDA advisors is the health headline of the week. A panel of FDA advisors voted to allow pharmacies to compound 6 peptides, which is like pretty big because they were basically not legal at all. So it's BPC 157, which to be honest, Kat, is the only one I've heard of this list. And it's also MOTS-C, KPV, Epsilon, C-Max, and TB 500. I'm sure like our friends who know these peptides well, maybe you do, or like, yeah, all these are great. So I don't know if you want to expand on that, but ulcerative colitis, wound healing, obesity, possibly gut stuff with BPC. I think jury's out on that.
Yeah.
But it's a big update. What's your reaction to this?
So I think it's a matter of time. I think like obviously we've seen how popular peptides are being sold on a gray market, and like a lot of people are making money there, and like the FDA or pharma is not about to be like, sure, go ahead. They want a piece of that pie. Like they want the whole pie. So I think, it's only a matter of time before they get more control and like, it's being more mass produced. But it also adds more trust, which I think is good if it's like actually, there's more research. I hope this means there can be more human trials, because a lot of the research is done on like rodents, and it's not directly relevant to humans, although so many people are taking them right now that like we are living in the experiment. I've tried some peptides, like I'm an experiment myself. I haven't had any mind blowing, like the way I hear people who are peptide fanatics talk about them has not been my experience whatsoever. Like not even... Okay. For like 1 second. So yeah, but I also think there's so many options out there. There's so many companies. Who knows what you're really getting? That's what's tricky. And I think, I don't know. I think these things will help. So I think they just need to do more research to see who it helps, what dosage and all of that. But I think if it makes eventually like this just needs to become more accessible. Peptides are the future. I'm pretty confident in that. We've seen what GLP1s did. They're already making stuff right now that's going to make people grow muscle without having to go to the gym. Like 10 years from now, what I think even medicine is going to be looking like is going to be totally different. And I'm pretty sure peptides are going to be like the biggest game changer. So it'll be interesting to see. I just kind of feel neutral. I'm not like super excited, but if I had our business rooted in peptides, then I would, this stuff matters so much more about who has access and whatnot. And I'm glad, we'll talk to people about peptides, but we're not like dependent on selling them to people or doing protocols and stuff. And like, then I would think it's like, you're really in the unknown there. But I think it's cool. And I think like if anyone wants to experiment, you always can on yourself, but it's probably going to be better when things.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why we don't give them out like candy in our program, besides the fact that a lot of them weren't even legal, is just you have to be doing out the basics first. Yeah. It's just so important. Yeah. And so, yes, we have clients who then we bridge them to the right provider. We have partnerships, all that. But it's just like, don't get caught up in the nonsense on social media of like some influencer. I've seen ones where people are like, I don't even really know what it is, but here's someone to talk about it. And you're like, you don't even know what it is. I was like, it's a drug that people are injecting in their body because you told them to. But you don't even know what it's like. Don't get swept up in that. But yeah, there's already so many that are amazing. Insulin is a peptide. GLP-1, as you mentioned, is a peptide. HGH is a peptide.
Yep.
Testosterone is given out like candy, which we've talked about. And I think HGH is a much better alternative to that. Athletes have also used it to cheat. So we know that it's really good there. So this is just the beginning. I will also just stay in my lane, as I feel like because we run a functional nutrition business that we were kind of like voluntold to be experts in peptides.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know why like peptides and functional, like that goes hands. It's up there with like anti-vax. It's like, I never said that I was anti-vax. If you want to be anti-vax, that's fine. But just because you believe in holistic health and eating healthy food doesn't mean that you can't, doesn't mean you need to be an expert on peptides or anti-vax or drink raw milk or whatever else gets lumped in. So I think that's a problem. Like not everybody's an expert in everything. And I've never heard of half of these, as I mentioned. Like I know a lot about healthcare as a business though, because we run one. And I can tell you that if something has the backing of the FDA and or a pharma company, it's going to get more funding. It's going to get more publicity. It's going to get more adoption. All of that celebrity endorsements, perhaps. So this is a huge milestone of like, now we're going to see them everywhere. And just as we saw with GLP-1s, once the person next to you takes it, you feel more like comfortable to take it. Whereas BPC now, which is something that like I've heard from 20 different people, changed their lives and helped their ACL recover and all this stuff. It's like, I'm still not there yet, So I think this is the first step in seeing whether they're legit. Otherwise, we'd never know, and they would just remain fringe wellness culture.
Yeah, and I would, if we're injecting things in our body, like that's a big thing to do if we don't know exactly what's going on. But it is funny to me, like a lot of the people who very early adopters of peptides who like are the same people who are like, will not touch a food additive or anti-vaxxers. And it's like, well, you're injecting things you have like really no clue what's in there, and it's very unregulated. And somehow we've decided that peptides are allowed and like other things aren't, which is just strange. So I think like the whole peptide world to me is like really interesting to watch. I forget what happened. Some guy just got busted for having like making millions and millions of dollars off of like completely fake products, something like that. And it's like, that's really scary stuff. And the person who is just Googling around is buying products from that person, and like who knows what's happening there. But, but on the other hand, I also think like, pharma's not my favorite. FDA regulation, there's a lot of issues there. They're not the most like honest and ethical people. So, there's both sides to it, so we'll see. I think it's interesting. And I'm just glad, like, I'm not here to be a peptide expert resource for people. I think we could have kind of opened that doorway a little bit, and we were both kind of like, it's just not what we want to do.
Yeah. And we have access to that, right? If you're listening, you want to be connected. We know people. Kat's been very close with a few people and we decided not at this time, right? We revisit.
Yeah.
But we can definitely liaise. We do GLP-1 all the time. We help clients with, but
I put that in a different category of pep. Like I like forget GLP-1. I'm like, it's just a world of its own.
Yeah. I mean, that's different. It's approved. It's regulated. Like that's a different ballgame. We're talking about compounding here too, which is a whole different ball of wax. Slight tangent, but I listened to this crazy podcast episode once about I think he was a forest ranger who in California who would just like, his job was to keep the forest safe, like make sure people weren't hunting or fishing without licenses. And he would stumble upon the cartel of growing marijuana in like the middle of nowhere, California. And he ended up creating this task force in the government and law enforcement to like help get rid of the cartel. And he said like the stuff they would put on the marijuana plant is like stuff that they would come in to remove it in like hazmat suits just to like touch it, let alone put it in your body. And so he was like, my God, I don't care if you do it or not. He's like, the fact that you think this shouldn't be legal and like regulated and batch tested and all this stuff is like the stuff people are putting in their body from these random people who don't care at all about their health. He's like, it's crazy. And I feel like it's the same with the peptides. You're right. That guy got arrested. It was like millions of dollars worth of product that he sold. And not only were not what they said they were, but they were harmful chemicals injecting into your body. It's like, we got to get this. Pharma has its flaws for sure, but at least like, what you're getting. It's not going to like kill you, So I think that's a helpful anecdote. All right, we got trivia today on the hot seat again.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
So these are like GLP-1 weight loss adjacent.
Oh boy.
All right. So when someone loses 20 pounds of fat, where does it physically leave the body?
Is it their breath?
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
84% of the mass exits as carbon dioxide through the lungs and 16% becomes water, which I think is just unbelievable. That is so wild that fat becomes something you breathe out. That's crazy. Like the human body, wild.
That should be the name of your book, When Fat Becomes Air.
Okay. What share of American adults are currently on a GLP-1 and what share have ever taken one? So currently on and ever taken one.
On. I actually think it's still quite low. I want to say it's 12.
Are on one right now?
Are on it right now.
Perfect. It is 12%.
Wow. Okay. Nailed it. And ever, I'm going to say 20%. Ever tried it?
18%.
Close. Okay. That's low. I'm actually really surprised that's that low.
Well, women outpace men 15% to 9%. Not surprised. And it peaks at 22% amongst adults 50 to 64. So 50 to 64 are taking the most GLP-1.
Okay, cool. I wonder if that ties back to the diabetes as well. Could be. Yeah. Since that's where that spikes. Interesting.
I think so. Okay. And probably like menopause for women, gaining weight faster. I'm sure that's like, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
In the trial that put semaglutide on the map, people in the trial stopped the drug at week 68. A year later, how much of the lost weight had come back?
Oh, man. I feel like we've put these in some of our materials. I've seen a lot of numbers. It's like, it's definitely over 50%. It could be 80 or 90. I'm going to go with 75%.
Yeah, 2/3.
2/3. Okay.
Yeah, 2/3. Okay.
So that's 66.6.
Yes. And then most of the cardiometabolic gains drifted back towards the baseline too. So it's not only did they regain weight, like basically all the other benefits kind of regressed as well.
Sure. And now your metabolism is slower.
Yep.
Not hating, just it needs to be said. And you have fewer bone mass, fewer muscle mass, and probably also weaker bones. Just so you know, this was probably not told to you by your doctor. That's what I'm saying.
GLP-1 is a hormone your body already makes. Which organ makes it?
God. I feel like you know this, Kat. Is it liver?
Small intestine. It's really your gut. If you said gut, that would have counted. But yeah, it's technically the lower small intestine and in the colon. So it's not your stomach. It has nothing to do with your actual stomach.
Liver, as you know, is not officially gut, but also unofficially gut.
Yeah. Okay. The National Weight Control Registry tracks people who lost significant weight and kept it off. What percentage exercise about an hour a day? So these are people who have lost weight and kept it off. This is actually not related to GLP-1. But of those people, what percentage exercise is about an hour a day?
Ooh, 75%?
90%.
Yeah, there you go. I like that number.
I like that number too. But also, not only that, 78% eat breakfast every day, 75% weigh themselves weekly, and 62% watch under 10 hours of TV per week. So,
okay,
goes to show there.
So just to listen, like we're first team all gut health and everything, but just to recap what I just heard, the vast majority of people who are keeping weight off are moving their body every single day. They're trying to reduce being sedentary. They're eating all of their meals, and they're also being in touch with their body biometrics, all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Important.
Yep.
Write that down, everybody. Write it down. Okay.
And I don't know, I didn't look into further of what exercise entails for that 90%.
Walking counts or not.
Yeah, but I think it's probably like intentional lifting, cardio. Like I think it's like intentionally doing something. I don't know if it's just walking, but
yeah,
either
probably
way,
resistance or zone 2, I would guess.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow. Okay. Is that it? Is that the end of the round?
Yep. That's it. You did good.
I feel like I did pretty well. The 12%.
You did really good. Yeah.
I got to put that on the wall. That's great.
It.
Well, let's talk about GLP-1s a little bit. This is a long-awaited episode. Kat, what's your experience? We'll talk about the science a little bit and what some people should know as a takeaway, but you are on the front lines way more than a doctor, right? That's not even debatable. Like doctors talk to their patients for 12 minutes. That's fine. That's just how the system's built. You talk to people every single day for months at a time. What's your experience having coached people on it?
So I have some interesting insights here. So of course we do a coaching business. So people come to us, they're usually struggling in some way, shape or form. But I have seen a couple things. From one of my observations is that when people come to us and they've already been on it for a longer period of time or seen a good amount of weight loss, which could be 30 pounds to 70 pounds, we've seen 80 pounds. Those people, their food intake is 500 to 800 calories per day. That really, really scares me. Like that is so alarming to me. And those people also have really funky relationships with food at this point. They're definitely afraid to eat more because they're afraid of gaining weight, but they also physically struggle to eat more because like their, capacity to eat food has been diminished. I think their diets are pretty limited, heavier in carbohydrate because your interest in protein and fat definitely goes down. So it's like they're not necessarily eating better. There could be processed food involved because you're so disinterested in food that you're finding something that at least like seems palatable, and usually like carby types of foods. Check that box. And then I also see like there's a mental struggle too with wanting to do habits because you're already doing a thing that clearly worked. To lose weight. Like if we're looking at weight loss on paper, this thing clearly works. So I think it's like a little harder for them to be motivated to want to do other things. But the main motivation from my point of view is to get your health back because we have lost a lot by doing this. And that's tricky. And then on the other hand, I think it's a smaller amount of people I work with where they've already done the habits. They've been eating the protein, they've been tracking macros, they've already lost some weight naturally. Then they go on a GLP-1 and they do a lot better because they already have a lot of the habits established. So we've seen clients who go on them. It's their own choice. They let us know and they have a lot of habits there and they're so happy that they already had those habits dialed because they're like, wow, I see how hard this would be if I didn't have these habits figured out. And, it's really like the complete lack of interest in food also makes it hard to want to eat healthy and plan your food. Because you're kind of like, I'm not thinking about it at all. I'm not like, protein sounds disgusting. I'm nauseous. Like, it's like, if you've already figured out what proteins you like, how to prepare things and whatever, it's a little bit easier to keep that going. But it's hard when you're, how you view food really changes. Obviously some upsides, right? Less food noise is something a lot of people like, but something that sticks in my head was someone recently, she was like, I'm really afraid my food noise is coming back because I drove past a fast food restaurant and I kind of wanted to go. And I'm like, that's like, we should be able to we all have thoughts that pass, like,
sure.
Or if you're like Cold Stone Creamery, that would be delicious, but it doesn't also mean that that's really bad food noise. You're just kind of registering something, but I could tell with her, she was really afraid of like, I had that thought and that means like something bad is happening. Where I'm like, we should all be able to manage. I think in a perfect world, we should be able to have cravings or urges and then be able to make an intentional choice, whether you have it or not, but it doesn't need to become this torturous thing. So I think one fear I have of like the GLP-1 world is it's made people not understand what food noise actually is or fear any thoughts of food And it makes them feel like they can't control anything unless they have like a drug to help them not even have the thought to begin with. Where like you're not really learning the skill to make intentional choices, critically think and whatnot, because like everything is removed. So that's a pattern I see. Like there's like a more of an anxiety that comes up when thoughts around food like resurface, which unless you're on the GLP-1 forever, like it's going to start to come back eventually. And you want to be able to have a tool set that allows you to make decisions. And not just like dead in the noise, forever. Yeah. And I get like food noise in some people is a lot higher than others, but I think that's one thing I notice a lot too. But I will also say very significant gut issues. I see constipation, nausea, like vomiting if you eat too much. Then like too much is really like a normal portion. Like those are clear things that happen. And, I think they really just change the experience of eating food and enjoying food, which should be something everyone like enjoys. Not everything you eat needs to be amazing, but for the most part, you should have joy in what you eat, even if it's a healthy meal like I do. If everything I felt about food was completely stripped from my brain, like that's weird. It's not how we're meant to be. It's not how we meant to like eat and enjoy things like that. So I'm curious to see how that evolves over time. But maybe because we've been doing this for a couple of years and it was kind of like it's become more popular, but we see mostly people who have been on them for a long time, prolonged, and something happened that now they need to work with us to get something back. And that's like what I'm seeing the most.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned gut issues. I think quality of life is the only thing I'd add based on friends taking it, clients taking it, all the perspective calls that I have with people taking it. I just feel like quality of life is not talked about enough, especially from physicians and commercials and all of that. Like I think about childbirth is a good example where a mom gives birth and then the focus immediately goes to the baby, make sure the baby's okay, all this stuff. And meanwhile, the mom has months, if not years of recovery, like physical recovery, hormone recovery, and they're just expected to like slot in, be a mom, and they've never done it before. Maybe they have to go back to work. Like there's not enough talk about how hard that is. And I think it's the same with GLP-1s. We're like, most people I talk to, unless they're on the lowest dose ever, even then sometimes is like they feel like shit every single day. Yeah. And we're like, don't forget to eat protein and strength train. It's like, well, I'm nauseous. I'm not hungry. I've lost all joy of eating anything, which is something we hear a lot. Like even cake and stuff, they're like, I don't want it anymore, which is helpful, but also like what's going on in my brain. And they're also sluggish because they're eating 800 calories. They're not going to build any muscle, even though like that's not really how it works anyway. When you're losing weight, it's really hard to build muscle. Plus you're on 800 calories. Like it's just really difficult to do all the things you're supposed to do. Not to mention a lot of these people had trouble doing that to begin with, which is totally fair. It's like 2 years ago, you went to the doctor, you were overweight and they're like, you should really, eat more protein, track your calories and go to the gym. And then they didn't, right? For whatever reason, totally compassionate about that. They go back to the doctor 2 years later. Doctor's like, all right, well, now you have to take this. Now they're still not doing the same stuff. They feel even worse. And social media is like, you got to go to the gym. It's like, right. We know that, but I feel terrible every single day. So I think it's honestly just a major shout out to like our program or any program like that or hiring a trainer, whatever you need to do. Like you have to instill those habits before, during, and after. Because your quality of life is poor. And I'm being compassionate. I say like, I don't expect you to be able to do this. Like I have bad days. I'm not on a GLP-1. I'm in good health and I still don't want to go to the gym. Like I don't expect you to do it on 800 calories with like nausea at every meal. So you have to come up with a plan for that. And if your doctor just hands you a prescription and says like, this is going to work, you just have to be really careful about all of the downstream effects.
Yeah. This reminds me of my eyebrow lady who I'm confident does not listen to our podcast. She's, I see her like every once in a while and I noticed she started losing a lot of weight, like probably she lost 100 pounds. It was very significant. And I didn't directly say anything, but I kind of like, we knew each other enough that I kind of commented and she was like, oh yeah, I'm doing like GLP-1. And she's like, and now I'm so fatigued, I can barely lift my arms up to do your eyebrows.
Right. Totally. I get that. That's,
I totally, I cannot do my job any longer and stand and I'm about to faint. And I'm like, whoa, but she lost 100 pounds. It is crazy.
And we covered this. God, we've done so many episodes now, Kat. I think we did one about like how fat loss isn't the enemy. And so like this is a major rabbit hole. And like, listen, weight loss is great. GLP-1s could definitely help. I'm not saying that, but like this equivalent of like when I lose weight, I will achieve all of my goals. I will look great. I will be healthy. Like it's not true. This is one tool that can really help you maintain a calorie deficit, possibly lower your blood sugar and inflammation. I'm not going to go into it because I'm not an expert, but like it's not going to do everything for you. And it's really important that you understand that. It's just so important. It's weight loss is not the end goal ever for anybody.
Yeah. We're going to get more into some specifics here because I think what I'm about to go through is what's proven in research. So it's not even an opinion, but I think it's good to always know like the pros and cons. I think that helps anyone understand like, what are these for? I will say like bias is huge here. There are people who really hate it, will hate anyone who does it, will always shit on it. There are people who love it, think it's a miracle, think it's the best thing on earth. And then there are the people in between. We've had a couple clients who come to me and they're like, my doctor gave me this. It's sitting in my fridge and I don't want to do it because I don't want to be like, I don't want to take the easy way out.
Yeah.
And like, that's a big thing. There's shame, there's judgment, or, you know, like celebrities lose a bunch of weight. Everyone's like, obviously on the shot. Or, you know, even someone I knew personally who lost a bunch of weight unrelated to she was so annoyed because everyone thought that she did it from taking GLP-1. And she was like, all my hard work, everyone thinks it's that. And I'm like, that does suck.
It's an interesting like social stigma.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on there. Yeah.
But ultimately, GLP-1 drugs are definitely here to stay. They have been around for a while. They've actually been around for decades. And they're only going to get better, right? They're making new versions all the time. There's a pill form. They're making injectables that like last longer. So you need to do less injections. They're higher dose. The prices have come down a little bit. Medicare access is expanding this year. So like it is going to be more doable for the regular person to do these. You know, for some people, it's quite expensive per month, but I think that's going to, you know, continue to shift, which is just going to make them more accessible. And on the other hand, that makes them more accessible to people who also like maybe are not informed enough to make a decision. They're just told they should do it, so they do, but they don't know, like, you know, no doctor sitting through like all of these possible things. So we're gonna start with the upside because there is a lot of good stuff. And, you know, I think a lot of people assume I would be anti-GLP-1. I think I sit somewhere in the middle. I think it kind of depends on the person, but the data is very impressive for these. Obviously, they help people lose weight. That's very obvious. And then they also help reduce cardiovascular events like heart attack, strokes, death. They have favorable impacts on kidney disease, diabetes, even sleep apnea, you know, and as someone who wants people to be healthier, I think this is great news. I love people like dying less, you know, being healthier, losing weight. Yeah, it's great. That's really, really important. And I will say, I think anyone who drastically overstates the harm of these drugs is wrong and likely has a bias they're looking to like confirm. I'll see people who, you know, on social media have a really strong take, but it's like when you look at the research, it's not like that bad. We see things, right? But I think some people really glom on to like certain things and make it seem really drastic. But if we look at the numbers, like the benefits are there, and that's very strong for people, and doctors and stuff want to prescribe these because a lot of people, like, let's be realistic, are not going to change their diet. They're just not. You know, if you're like 50 years old, 55, you've had a long time eating how you are, you're probably not about to make some drastic changes, but you'll happily, you know, probably hop on this medication. And that's just the world we live in.
If you hire us, you'll change. But yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But there is no such thing as free lunch. So like we talked about earlier, a year off the medication, people regained about 2/3 of their weight. And also the blood pressure, the blood sugar, all of that reverted towards the baseline. So this really proves that ongoing treatment is needed to have the improvements in weight and health. So you basically have to be on it if you want to have those benefits. And I don't think a lot of people are being told that. This is like a statin, right? If you come off a statin, your cholesterol might go up. It's not going to just keep it down forever. So, you know, you will get the benefits as long as you're taking it. And some people, especially women in the like 30s, 40s, like you're not thinking I'm going to be on this for the rest of my life. But that might be the reality if you're really trying to, you know, not have any food noise or maintain your weight loss. That might be like the realistic thing of like what's really, you know, really going to happen. And I'm not saying you can't do a GLP-1 and maintain your weight loss. I just think the stats are against you, you know. And when we understand that it is a potentially forever thing that you're getting yourself into, the side effects really become a larger part of the conversation. So we're going to start with your gut because this is a very obvious one. Nausea, even like vomiting sometimes. But in a 2-year trial, 82% of people on semaglutide had GI side effects. That's 82%. That's a lot of people, right? Yeah, and between 20 and 35% of people quit because of what it did to their digestion. So they were like, this is not worth it. They slow down your stomach on purpose. This is the mechanism. The food sits in you longer, so you stay fuller for longer. But your digestive tract, if we think of it like a conveyor belt, if we slow down the belt, then everything downstream slows down too. So then everything starts to pile up. The food is sitting in your intestines longer than it should. That bacteria is going to start to ferment, and that's how these bacterial overgrowths happen. And when we have more bacterial overgrowth, we have more bloating, gas, pain, constipation, alternated with diarrhea, reflux even. Like, these are the symptom lists that people report when they're on these drugs. And honestly, it's to be expected. It's not like, why is that happening? It's like, yes, that is what happens because this is how it works. So it's, I think if you were to have that complaint, maybe they offer a supplement, maybe they say like eat more fiber, but it's really kind of like, yeah, that's what's happening here. I have seen, like I talked about earlier with like the gut issue side effects on the people I've run GI maps on who are on GLP-1, see some pretty interesting stuff. We see a lot of bacterial overgrowth, the kind we don't want to be there, like excessively. And I think that's really interesting because it shows like that is exactly what's happening when we have really slow motility, or, having a bowel movement once every 6 days is not okay. It's not good for us. It's not good for our body. And that is the kind of stuff that happens. So I've definitely seen like in the test results, aside from massive nutrient deficiencies, we see like the gut definitely takes a hit. Gallstones and reflux issues are also increased as well. So if you have gallbladder trouble, it's really important to have that conversation or really look into that before you start, because it definitely could exacerbate things. If you have reflux, it'll probably make it worse. In a study with a very large group of users, 13% had a newly diagnosed nutritional deficiency within 6 months, and then 22% within a year. So that's not because anything blocks absorption. It's purely because they're eating a lot less food. So iron, B12, vitamin D, protein, a lot of these things fall short just because you're not eating as much anymore. But I'm not going to pretend that doesn't happen when you're in a deficit too, right? A lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about are things that happen. If anyone loses a lot of weight really fast, we will see the same thing. But, these are things that a lot of people just aren't expecting to happen. And then hair shedding. I think this is the one that women hate the most, right? About 2 to 4 months in, when it's really working, you're losing weight, you're like, hell yeah, your hair starts to fall out. And it happens way more drastically in women than men. But, that anytime when we like beauty starts to take a hit, I think women start to get upset. And this is total side tangent, but I was listening to a podcast of like a plastic surgeon guy, and they're like, plastic surgery is absolutely about to be like transformed because of how much skin laxity and like all the issues people have from massive weight loss. Women in their 30s, 40s are coming in, they're needing to fill like they lost like a lot of like fat in their face, and they're looking to get that youthfulness back because ultimately like makes you look older and your wrinkles show more. And they're not happy with that. So like a whole new world of plastic surgery and filler and all that is coming from the GLP-1 usage. So that's fun.
Yeah.
And then muscle, I think this is one like everyone has heard of this at this point. Somewhere between 1/4 and 40% of the weight loss on these drugs is lean tissue. You do lose lean tissue when you're in a deficit losing weight anyway. It's just probably a little bit more drastic, I think, because of the protein hit that people don't want to eat. They have an aversion. But it is largely preventable if you do eat enough protein and you do resistance training. But a lot of people aren't doing that. Your doctor can be like, eat your protein and lift weights. Have a nice day. See you in 3 months. But no one's like telling you what to do. No one's helping you know what to do at the gym. No one's telling you how to eat enough protein. Like, it's on you to figure that out. And a lot of people just aren't going to do that.
There's also just such a lack of education around what that means. Like, everyone's like, oh, I should be going to the gym more. I should be, eating more. Like, we've all been saying that our whole lives, right? Myself included. That's why we do this podcast, because there's a laundry list that we had to cut down actually just to fit in the time of all the things that happen to you when you don't eat enough calories, when you don't eat enough nutrients, when you don't strength train, especially while you're losing weight. And I just feel like none of that is disclosed when you go to the doctor. And it needs to be. Maybe it's in that pamphlet that nobody reads in the drug. I don't know. But it's just like, hey, don't forget to eat protein and go to the gym. People are like, yep, sure, I'll do that. I just want to lose weight. So it's just like, it's so important to listen to everything coming out of your mouth about how important all of this is.
Yeah. Like, I would, in a perfect world, I think it would be a non-negotiable to get a workout plan in place and get enough protein in your diet before you're allowed to start. Like, I would want proof of that. And I think that would be really cool. And I follow this one obesity doctor on Instagram. He's like always talking about GLP-1 stuff. And for him, like, he makes it like absolutely necessary for people to do it and to prove that they're doing it. And he's like, it is like what I need to do as a doctor. And I think like if we get more people like that on board, then that could definitely be helpful.
Yeah. Yep.
Last main side effect is bone. So this is like also clearly known fact here. We are seeing reductions in bone density. And the highest concern here are postmenopausal women who are already losing bone the fastest, and they are the population most likely to take a GLP-1. So it's like a double whammy. Your body's already naturally, having issues there, and then your bones take an extra hit. And this is how people can, we could get more injuries. We're just weaker, energy. It's like being able to get out of bed and go downstairs. Like all that stuff just gets harder. I mean, like Andrew said, like quality of life. If we are nutrient deficient, our hair's falling out, losing muscle, we're losing bone, our gut motility is slow, like we are going to feel that, at the end of the day. And sometimes I will say it's not right away, right? In the first like couple months, people are on a high, but I think it happens when you're really like probably closer to that like 4, 5, 6 month mark. And then we talked about people who are on these for years to maintain their weight loss, like who knows what's happening at that point. But I will also say, like, for a lot of people, it's worth it. To lose weight and to be able to keep it off is worth all the trade-offs. Like, and I totally get that. But there's a lot unknown. Like, we are really living in the experiment right now because a lot of people are taking GLP-1s that don't need it. They're kind of like, I want it. I want to optimize. I want like, people who are like, oh, anti-inflammatory, I microdose my tirzepatide. Cool. But like, you don't need it. You just want it at that point. And who knows, we're going to see over time, like what happens there, but there is so much unknown. And I think like as a woman who cares about body size, I get the appeal. The appeal is there for everybody. And I think the food noise is very appealing. Or if people are like, oh, if I just took this and I don't think about food, like it's probably miraculous at first. When you're like snacking, don't care. Breakfast, not think about it. Like you're just not even thinking about food. I'm sure that is really, really, really amazing for people in the beginning, but it's like, then what does that, become? And like you mentioned about losing joy in food, like anhedonia is a side effect where you lose joy in everything. So your hobbies, not so fun. Going to the gym, not even interesting anymore. The hobby sport you played, you don't care. Your partner, don't care about them. Like these are things that also happen, and I'm not making this up. Like when I poke around on forums and stuff and talk to people, like this is the most upsetting part of this is like you lose your joy for everything.
Yep. It's so interesting. Like I feel like I don't have a firm take, right, on whether it's for someone or not. And I think because blanket advice in general is really bad, but I've talked to a lot of people who are just like, now I understand how bad my food noise was. And I think a lot of people, and I blame people in our industry who love the calorie narrative and nothing else, I don't think they understand what it's like to be in the shoes of a lot of these other people who grew up disordered eating, Weight Watchers, Slim Fast in their lunchbox is an example we've used in the past, food noise all the time. Like I don't think they know what it's like. And I don't know what it's like to be that person either, but I listen to people. This is what I do all day is I talk to everyone. I've heard all the stories. And I think it's just really, really hard to do the things that we know we're supposed to do. And the GLP-1 can make it possible, which I think is amazing. But then I think there's a lot of misconception around who it's actually for, what it actually does. Losing weight is not the end result. It's really just more of a catalyst to a new life. And I hope that narrative continues because I don't think it's talked about enough by doctors or by these like direct to consumer brands. Serena Williams has like a whole team of people making sure that she's still at the top tier of her athleticism while taking this. I think it's like a bit of a misconception that if she can do it, everyone can do it. Like, I don't think that's a fair portrayal because we didn't see, her life. It's a different life than yours, kind of.
Yeah. Also, talk about muscle mass. Like, she's got it.
Right. Exactly. That's why I think it's such an interesting like case study for someone like that, who's one of the best athletes of all time, very much relies on her strength and power, and to lose weight rapidly, it's interesting. So anyway, it's also, such a compliment. Go ahead.
Also worth noting, we've had clients who are on it and it's doing nothing. I want to put that out there. I've seen people who, I know one person who's actually like not a client, but she was on it, not a pound. 6 months, 8 months, paying $500 a month, whatever, not a pound down. And like talk about, she's like, what is wrong with my body? And I'm like, I will help you, So I'm like trying to get her into doing some stuff, but it is true. Like, there are some people who aren't responding to it, or I see people who are on one on a low dose. They're not doing the dietary work and things don't really change. Or like someone comes to mind who we saw good progress and then they started like eating more carbs and like just not doing enough protein and fiber, and her A1C went right back up, and she's still on it. Same dose, but like her diet changed, got her blood work done, and, 10 pounds are back on and the blood sugar is worse. And it's like, that just goes to show being on it doesn't necessarily for everybody. Just you have to do more than that. And everyone responds differently. But, I'm sure the people who are taking it and not seeing anything move, like that feels really frustrating because you also see people who take it, change nothing, and like the weight just rapidly flies off. And that's why we have to look at our gut and our hormones and all that stuff, because it's the reason some people do really well and some don't is also comes back to like some of those internal factors.
Yep. So I think my take in short is you need two people in your camp if you're going to do this. One is your doctor, obviously. And the other one is someone like us who's going to be with you day in and day out and help you build the habits and help you make adjustments, because it's not as simple as just taking it and you're good and you've got everything you need for the rest of your life. Obviously, I think everyone should work with someone professionally for nutrition. That's my very biased opinion, but like I can't think of a segment outside of like perimenopausal and menopausal women who more need help in this camp than someone starting a GLP-1 or coming off of a GLP-1 or on it or any combination of GLP-1 usage. Like you have to have someone in your corner, or this might be a very long journey for you.
Yeah. And if you were to come work with me, there's no judgment. Like I don't care that you're on one or not on one, but I'm going to ask you what your plan is. How long are we planning on doing this? Like, because some people don't think about that, or they don't think about, they'll be like, yeah, I want to come off like next month, but you don't think about like what that means. Do we have everything in place for like all the things that are going to change? And that's just an important part of the conversation. And I think if you have a good coach, they're going to take that into consideration with what it means for you long.
Yep. Are you ready for the gut instincts lightning round?
Yes.
All right. 60-second fix. One action listeners can take from this episode.
So I think with everything we just talked about, it's going to have to come back down to protein and resistance training, but we'll focus on protein. I know we talked about protein a million times, but there's a reason that it's one of the most beneficial things you can do to also prevent some of the muscle loss and whatnot. And to this day, still people are not eating enough protein. We see new clients every week. They track their protein before they start. We see where it's at. Like a lot of people are really, really low. And those are people who are struggling a lot with weight loss. So I think just because you eat protein at every meal doesn't mean you're eating enough protein. Just because you eat protein doesn't mean you're eating the right types of protein. And, it's a really good thing to pay attention to or track once in your life to really understand, like, how much am I actually getting?
Yep. Healthy or hell no. The GLP-1 branded supplements. I see a lot of these at like CVS. You walk in, big shelf. It's like supports your GLP-1 intake or whatever, something like that. Thoughts on that?
This is definitely a hell no. I've had many clients send me things over the years of like, what do you think of this? I'm like, look, like what you want is to get the benefits of it without having to do the shot. And that's not going to happen. Like this $30 pill bottle, if it worked that good, it would not be $30 pill bottle that you could just buy online, right? It's like not going to happen. Our body makes GLP-1 and the best things you can do for that are actually like to eat enough protein. So I would say do not get suckered into that and buying any of those things, because you really just need to focus on your diet.
Our body makes GLP-1 in the small intestine. Now I know.
Yeah.
From trivia. Look at that. All right, too embarrassed to ask. You kind of brought this up already because we hear this all the time. Is GLP-1 cheating or taking the easy way out?
No. And if you think that means you're not doing something, because you know, if you think you're taking the easy way out, that means in your head, I am not doing everything I possibly could. And that answers it right there, I think. There's obviously like a lot of shame involved, but I do know people who have taken them so shamelessly, and I'm kind of like impressed that they're just like so open and they're like not bothered by it. They'll tell anybody. And then there are people who are like so embarrassed. So I would say no, but you have to also like think about, what does this look for the long term? How's my diet? Like, is this sustainable? Because I'll tell you what will be really embarrassing is if you lose a bunch of weight on one, then you gain it all back because you stopped taking it. That's the worst place to be. That is by far the worst place to be, is to lose 100 pounds, 75 pounds, whatever, even if it's 50 pounds, 20 pounds, and then you gain it all back and then some because your metabolism slowed, and now you're going to have a lot more shame. And you're going to think the only way you can do this is by being on it because you haven't just built the skills.
Yep. I love it. I think that's a great mic drop to end the note. Anything else you want to add? End the episode? Anything else you want to add?
No, I think we covered it.
All right. Well, if you need help making sense of your symptoms, you can get a free gut reset plan from the link in the show notes. You can follow more of Kat and her no judgment to GLP1 on Instagram at @bestwellness. You can follow me and my also no judgment on GLP1 at Instagram at Andrew Hayes Life. We'll see you for the next one, everybody.
Bye, guys.